Good morning, good evening. Welcome back to For the Lonely Nights. I'm Paul Kim, and thank you for joining us on another episode of this podcast series. And what do you know? It's episode number 10. Woohoo! I know it's only been 10 episodes, but somehow this seems like a small milestone for me. And so at first I was going to plan a little something special for the 10th episode. But earlier in the week, a couple days ago actually, a couple buddies and we, I guess you could say, spontaneously planned a road trip. And we're leaving in a day, so I'm actually recording this a lot sooner than I usually would. And, that just gave me a lot less prep time. So unfortunately, this episode isn't going to be, too special from what we're used to, but I think every episode's special, honestly. So, yeah. Honestly, we got great stuff to talk about today. But yeah, I mean, that was just a little life update. Yeah, we are planning to go on a road trip. We're actually going to San Francisco, and just the surrounding areas up there in NorCal. And so, yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a good time. I'll definitely tell you guys more about it next week when I'm back. But yeah, super excited, and I think honestly, it's much needed too, as much of a blessing it is to be here at home with family. I also think from time to time you do need a little break, and some time for yourself, and sometimes to get some air. And yeah, I think this is a perfect opportunity for that, so I'm definitely gonna be enjoying myself. But with that being said, uh, you know, these things right here, we got a lot to talk about today. Usually, how the format usually is in these podcasts is, like the two of the three topics are very light and short, and one of them is kind of like the deeper one. But honestly, all three things that I want to talk about today are they have their own, they're pretty hefty by themselves. I'm sure I got quite a bit to say about each of those. So let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right into it then and get started with the first one right here. And this first one, honestly, it's an interesting one. I remember I came across something very similar to this on the internet, and it just got me thinking a lot. And so, pretty much what I want to talk about was kind of the concept of tribalism. And for those of you who don't know what tribalism is, which was me, like a couple of days ago, I'm sure. I was actually, doing some research on this topic, earlier in the week, and I found this article that I thought was pretty solid. It's from a guy, Richard Althouse, and he pretty much wrote this scientific article about the neurology behind tribalism and things like that. And he actually starts off by giving a pretty solid definition of tribalism, I would say. So I'm going to read that for you right here. It says, tribalism is simply the state of individuals organizing into a social structure that advocates for the beliefs and behaviors of the tribe and generally opposes those of different tribes in proportion to their differences. So pretty much, what I understand from this is basically tribalism is your social groups, your circles, your cliques, your community, and what exactly I wanted to talk about, regarding tribalism was, I saw this question online that was it was very interesting. It was talking about how tribalism was a genetic trait, something we're born with, or if it's something that we learn, while we're growing up. And if so, if it is something that we are born with, is that something that we can, let's say, overcome? Is that something we can change? And there's also a second part to this that I also wanted to talk about, and it's kind of talking about, so once we kind of decide on a solid basis of what tribalism is and if it's a learned or a genetic trait, then is tribalism, is it necessary? Is it something that helps or hurts society? And so these are honestly very interesting questions, and I was giving it some thought. And honestly, tribalism, we see it everywhere. And not only do we see it everywhere in today's society, we see it all throughout history. And so there's this another article by this guy named Paul Trejo. And he just wrote a very short article about his thoughts about tribalism and things like that. And I found something that, he said that was very interesting. And he was talking about how tribalism is very normal and a natural thing. And, he says we seen traces of this even dating all the way back to like times of the old times, and in the times of Abraham and with the Egyptians and things like that, we see that their tribalism occurs literally in their tribes. They had tribes back then, and that's just kind of your people right there. And he was talking about how these tribes back then, they pretty much would go to war with one another. If you're from different tribes, you're not really on very buddy terms or anything like that. It's you stick with your people, and others, they're, even if you're not kind of going to war with them every single time, you're always so very wary of them. It's not something like good neighbors or anything like that. But he also talks about how tribalism evolves from this to a much expansive kind of definition, a much broader definition, and broader view. And honestly, yeah, like these days, in I guess recent history or modern times, there's a lot more evidence of kind of how humans evolve the definition of tribalism. And when you're born, when you're small, you don't really have I guess any other tribe rather than, I guess, your family, maybe some close friends, maybe a close community, your neighborhood or something like that. But as you grow up, you kind of develop and learn to form more tribes around you. You become a part of more tribes, whether it be, let's say, a club at school, or a musician's group, or maybe it's your job, or yeah, this or that. Your friends at church, whatever it is. You develop more tribes as you grow up, and it's not just about you and your family anymore. It's not just about you and your people. It's about bigger things. It's about all these tribes becoming a part of your identity. And I thought that was very interesting, honestly, and I think it's very, very true too. And it's very evident. These articles that I kind of looked into, most of them were in agreement by saying that tribalism is something that you are inherently born with. It is a genetic trait, but it's only a genetic trait to a certain extent. Like I mentioned earlier, you're born, and as a baby, like I said, your only tribe is your parents, your family, and like the few familiar faces that you know. But as you grow up, you learn to develop and embrace more tribes, more social circles, more and more communities that necessarily you weren't a part of initially. And I think that's honestly the beauty of it. And whether, the tribes, whether it's something like your ethnicity, your background, what nation you come from, a religion, a social status, a political stance, gender, age. There's so many things, there's so many tribes that you could be a part of. And I think honestly the great thing about all of this is that what was kind of meant or started off as something that would allow you to find an identity in one thing, so you pretty much, your identity is for an example, a Korean. That's your identity, and that's what you know the identity is for everyone who lives in that country. It kind of developed from just limiting yourself with your immediate community, with your people, to developing into something that um, you are now not limited to just one thing, not limited to the community you were born to, but now um, you find your identity through the bits and pieces, um, and of all of these different tribes, all of these different things, and that just forms who you are, who you identify yourself as. Um, and I'm sure it was very similar to this all throughout history as well, even in the old times. But I think definitely these days you see it a lot more, and it's a lot more prevalent and a lot more vocal, I guess. And yeah, you let's say you meet a group of strangers, or you're meeting new people, and you don't know anything about these people, but um, you know, it just kind of got me thinking, like, dang, if I was meeting new people, how would I introduce myself? What would I identify myself with when I am introducing myself to them? So would I say, like, hey, my name is Paul Kim. I go to UCLA. So am I identifying myself with my school? Or would I say, oh, yeah, like, my name is Paul Kim. I am I work at Google. Let's say I work at Google. I work at Google. Am I identifying myself with my job? And this could go so many ways. Whatever is I guess the most important, most significant tribe to you, and what you want others to know. And I think this tactic, the existence of tribalism, um, it, going on to this kind of the second part, like I mentioned earlier, is it necessary? Does it help or hurt society? Does it help or hurt yourself? You know, I could see the other side, the other point of view, where people would say that, oh, tribalism is something that we can do without. Tribalism is something that isn't necessary. That without tribalism, the world would be a better place. Um, and they would probably come from a stance where they would think that tribalism is the reason why there is so much segregation, there is so many differences and splits in society. um, you know the whole thing about racial injustice, systematic injustice, and discrimination for certain tribes over others, and things like that. And you know, I definitely understand that. That's something I definitely thought a lot about as well. Um, and I guess in that aspect, tribalism um, uh, does provide a way for those kind of issues to occur. Things like racial injustice, and um, pretty much hostility between certain tribes, certain groups, certain races. Um, you know, Tribalism, because it exists, it does result in those kind of, I guess, negative things as well. But at the same time, what I believe is that tribalism is truly necessary. And yeah, like I said, there could be uh, negative things, things that are uh, not too, I guess, not too sought after, that come from tribalism. But I think tribalism offers something that's just so much more grander, and really outweighs the negatives. And for me, that's personally from what tribalism can offer in terms of identity. Like I was mentioning earlier, there's because tribalism exists, because there are all of these separate groups, separate circles, and all these different things. Um, this is just more of an opportunity and a platform for people to really, really become an individual, really become, mm, find their identity through all of these different, bits and pieces, and and really, whatever really calls out to them, whatever they Um, yeah, whatever they desire. I forgot the word I was going for, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, like going back to that example, meeting new people, like I was talking about, and the different things that you could identify yourself with. Another benefit of tribalism is that even in those circumstances, of meeting new people, certain, there's only so much tribes in the world, so much things, so much different things, and so much different races and ages and political parties and things like that. So obviously, a lot of these different tribes that you identify yourself with, they're going to overlap with others as well. There's going to be so many others who uh, find a part of their identity in the same tribe as you. And so, I think a big one is sports teams. Sports. You you meet new people and it may be awkward and kind of distant at first, but then as soon as you find out that this person is a fan of the same sports team as you are, like boom, you guys are best friends already, right then and there. um, yeah, I think definitely sports teams is definitely one of those that really can bring people together, or pit them against each other just as well. I think it's definitely one of those that people have a lot of passion for. But um, yeah, like you find a lot of common ground because your identity consists of so many different things, and so it just allows you to have um, a better chance of finding common ground between people, connecting with people, um, and yeah, just really being able to form just more solid relationships. And so and not just with relationships with others, but even like within yourself. I believe that um, you know just the fact that tribalism exists, it really does wonders. Um, and I should really preface this before I start talking about all this, but I'm not a psychology major or like I haven't studied sociology like greatly or anything like that. I am a communications major though, so I do get a little bit of a taste of both worlds. But um, yeah, like I was just I'm still learning these things as I go as well. So forgive me if I kind of use any of these terms or concepts wrong. I might be even using this whole tribalism thing, um, you know, in a context that's not meant for. But um, yeah, I think definitely it is a very necessary thing, and it's a good thing as well. And if we kind of use it, if we understand it, learn to accept it, at the same time, use it to kind of bring a better results, better kind of outcomes from it. I think a lot of these negative things that can come from it as well. Like I said, um, they they can definitely be combated, through tribalism, and it's definitely easier said than done. I don't honestly don't think these problems that we see, regarding discrimination, segregation, and all these different things, because people are very different in some ways. I don't think those problems are gonna go away anytime soon. Um, but you even in like the recent this year, in the recent past couple months, I think people have been being more vocal about things, and I have my own opinions about that as well. But that's a discussion for another time. And yeah, I could definitely see change happening a small step at a time. So that's that. And going on to this second topic, it actually is ties into to what we're talking about with tribalism and all that. But this second one right here, it kind of the backstory of it. Um, couple a few weeks ago, my father and I were at In-N-Out, and we were just enjoying ourselves a burger, and we were just having small talk. Um, and one of the things he asked me was like, "Hey, like if like someday we're gonna get to a point where technology is advanced enough and we have the means to colonize another planet. I'm guessing Mars is gonna be the first one. I know SpaceX and Elon Musk, and there's a lot of people who are kind of already in the works of that already. But he's like, yeah, somewhere in the near future is gonna happen. And when that does happen, how do you think, this life on this new planet is gonna look like in terms of nationality, in terms of like when we do colonize Mars, let's say, is there gonna be different nations, different countries, like there is here on Earth, or is it gonna be like everyone kind of lives under the same flag? Everyone lives under, uh, yeah. So pretty much, is tribalism on a national scale? Is tribalism gonna exist or not? Um, and I think my answer then and my answer now is still the same. It hasn't changed. And that is that I don't think it is possible. Um, I think honestly, uh, just simply said, like if we can't achieve that kind of unity, um, and anything close to that here on Earth, what makes you think that it's gonna happen on another planet, on Mars? And honestly, like what my main thing was, and maybe it could happen, but my main issue with all of that um, is that when the technology does come, and when we do have the means, um, it's not gonna be available to everyone at the same time. Obviously, the forerunners in technological advancement in the world on a global scale, the big names like USA, Russia, China, Japan, like these big names who are pretty much like first world countries. They're technology wise, they're definitely um, leading the world in those things. They have the means and the funds and the technology to achieve something like that, but achieve colonizing another planet a lot sooner than other countries and other nations will. They're gonna have the means, and they're gonna take that chance a lot sooner than anybody else can. So the smaller countries, like the third world countries, or countries who are just even a little bit behind, by the time they achieve the technology and the means to go out into space themselves and try to colonize Mars, the same planet, there's not gonna be anything left for them. These big names are already gonna have sent their people and claimed their land, their territory, and yeah, like pretty much you're gonna have to either work with them and live with a different country or nation, or you're gonna have to blast off into another planet, and see if you could live there. But that's very unlikely. Um, and so, yeah, like you know, um, all these big names, they take what's theirs, they take what they see, and even amongst those big names, I don't think there's going to be any form of unity or living together, or becoming one identity, because they're big names for a reason. They're at the top of their games for a reason. It's because they thrive on competition with one another. Um, you know, USA is always trying to, and any country honestly is always trying to just be the number one. And they're always trying to be leading the world, and especially in the technological race. And something as big as colonizing another planet, I don't think anyone is gonna miss that chance to just really show that they are the big boss. And so when they do go to the same, even if they go to the planet at the same time with their, people, like I said, they're always gonna be competing for either more land, more resources, this or that, or whatever it is. They thrive on competition here on Earth, and I'm sure they're gonna carry that over to Mars or wherever it is. And so on a national scale, tribalism, I'm sure it's gonna be very strong in Mars, as it is here on Earth, and I think like I said, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of good can come from it, also a lot of bad, but it just depends on kind of how you go about things. But yeah, just on the whole idea in general of colonizing another planet, um, like I said, I could talk about that, uh, have its own little discussion about that as well. Whether it's a better idea to look up and at um, finding resources and colonizing a different planet, or look around us and see what we can do to save this planet that we're on, or is it too late, but yeah, that's a different topic on its own. I think it's a very cool idea. I'm always fascinated by these things, these revolutionary things that are gonna happen, and I'm sure it will happen. Maybe in the next 15 years or so, maybe even sooner. Who knows? Um, but yeah, I personally wouldn't go to a different planet if I was given the chance. But um, you know, there's gonna be some great YouTube videos about that, I'm sure, from the first few people who do go. So yeah, excited to see what the future brings, and um, really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. And yeah, going on to this third thing right here. Honestly, we're doing very good on time. I'm looking at the time right now, and um, we might even finish faster than some previous episodes. I thought this was a lot to talk about, but yeah, this third thing right here, it's a whole different thing from tribalism. So you could take a sigh of relief. I'm not gonna milk that cow anymore. But this third thing is something I also kind of that came up to me earlier in the week as I was browsing through YouTube and Reddit, and I just noticed that um, how a lot of influencers these days, a lot of YouTubers and people who are trying to gain attention and clout on social media, they a lot of them do, what you call like kindness videos. I would say, acts of kindness videos. I'm putting up air quotes right now when I say kindness. And it's because um, a lot of people, we see these videos of these guys like helping out people in need, mainly like homeless people, um, and they give food to the homeless, or they give like $10,000 to a random person on the street, or they give the homeless individual a place to sleep for the night, or a job interview, whatever it is. There's countless videos like this out there, and as much as it is meant to warm people's hearts and create a good vibe, there has been a vast majority of the people who watch these videos, they kind of call these guys out, call these people out, saying that like, yo, we know that you're just only doing this for the clout. We know that these people are only doing this for the fame and attention, and this isn't really an act of kindness. If it really was, an act of kindness, like, they wouldn't be doing it, filming it all for the world to see. Um, Basically, for them giving, let's say, like $100 to this homeless person and putting it on YouTube and getting the views and things out of it, they make $1,000, or they make 100 times that. And so, that's like the big issue there is, surrounding these kind of videos and these kinds of, charitable acts, is that, yeah, these people aren't doing it for the right reasons. And so I kind of want to just kind of talk about, my own personal views on this. And, is it really wrong for people to film their acts of kindness, like I said, in air quotes, to other people in need? Definitely for clout or for attention. And, coming, being, a child of God and being a firm believer, I would, in the Bible, obviously, it says that to do your good deeds in private, to, yeah, just be kind and practice your righteousness behind closed doors. Do it so that nobody else can see, and then your reward will be in heaven. But if you don't, if you do and you flaunt it for everyone to see, and then you get those compliments and garner the attention, like that's your reward right there. So that's the Bible says, hey, like, don't do it. But and on the same page, even if people, let's coming from people who arguments not founded upon scripture, people, obviously they say for moral reasons, don't do it, it's wrong, because obviously these people aren't doing it out of the right reasons, out of kindness, out of the kindness of their heart. These people are definitely doing it so they could benefit themselves, and they kind of like paint the wrong picture with this whole charity and charitable acts thing. But honestly, my 2 cents on this is, yeah, maybe it is wrong, maybe morally and in any other way, maybe it is wrong. But regardless of that, I don't think that we should be discouraging people to stop doing these kind of things. Maybe not encouraging, but we definitely should be not discouraging as well. And what I mean by that is, yeah, these individuals, these influencers or YouTubers, they may not be helping others for the right reasons. They may not be helping others to help, but you can't deny the fact that it is still help. It is still helping that individual who is in need, regardless of what the influencer is doing it for. And so, like I said earlier, for example, if you give a homeless individual money or a place to sleep or a meal, or a job interview, a haircut, whatever it is, that you provide for this homeless individual, regardless of your reasons for doing it, you are still helping the individual. The individual is still being helped in some way, shape, or form. And, maybe they don't want their face all over the internet. But I think if you're in that situation, I think you can definitely take all the help that you can get. And I'm sure for most of those individuals, they don't really care if these people are helping them out of kindness or helping just them for clout. At that point, if you're in that situation, if you're in need, you can definitely, like, help is help. And when I say we shouldn't discourage people from doing these kind of things, is that there are a lot of kind people in the world, I'm sure. But there's also a lot of people who kind of would just not bat an eye, wouldn't just give a second thought when passing by a person in need, a homeless individual or an individual who can really use their help. There's a lot of people who wouldn't take the time and would kind of justify it with themselves afterward, like, oh, I was too busy, oh, I need this money myself, or this and that. They can say a lot of things to not be not lend a helping hand when they could. And this is just another a way to kind of make up for that, to kind of supplement the lack of help that we kind of see in modern society. And yeah, so basically, saying the same thing here. These guys, if they make money off of these videos or get clout or become famous or whatever it is, like, that's their life. They do them. But these people are being helped regardless of the reasons. And so I honestly think that it's something that we should kind of just let it happen. And I'm like, of course we should encourage more people to just do it out of genuine kindness, not always expect a reward in return. But it's definitely not in our nature. And I think I'm sure the person in need would be more satisfied with having a nice meal or a place to sleep that night than having the influencer, uh, having a moral compass or whatever it is. I don't know if that last part made sense, but yeah, basically that's it. Yeah, I I honestly am in the fault as well when it comes to really being that helping hand that I call for. Um, there's so many times where I would just kind of walk past a person in need, a person asking for change, or like even there's I'm it's in my capabilities to help a person in a certain way or form. I rarely do I ever really take that time or take that step to go out of my way to do that. Um, and so I'm calling myself out as much as I am calling anybody out. And that's not really something that I kind of been wanting to work on as well and think about. Um, there's a lot of reasons that you can tell yourself, I can tell myself not to do these things. But at the end of the day, we're here to help each other out. We're here to really be the light in the darkness, the castle on the hill, not just involving on a spiritual scale, but also to just really see how others see us, really being that light and helping others, and people follow, when they see something done and it really strikes, it's really stuck with them. They follow in the footsteps of others, and so something to think about for myself as well. But yeah, that was it, honestly. And this Bible passage I was gonna leave you off with, it's actually, kind of what I took from the Bible, regarding doing these kind of acts in private behind closed doors. Like I mentioned earlier, and it's from Matthew chapter 6 verses 1 through 4, real short. And let me read it for you right here. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Amen. So yeah, something to think about. But super excited to be going on this trip tomorrow. I need to honestly see what to pack. I haven't been out like this in a while. So yeah, I'll update you guys next week. But until then, have a fantastic week, everyone. Always stay smiling. And as always, all glory to God.